Hello, everybody. The Canadians played a game tonight. It wasn't exactly a great game, but it did happen, and the Canadians did end up losing 4-2 against the Philadelphia Flyers here to wrap up the regular season. Not exactly a great performance, not one that gives you a whole lot of confidence going into game one of the playoffs, which will end up being, I believe, Sunday against the Tampa Bay Lightning in Tampa Bay. Of course, with this loss, we do not get home ice advantage for the first round series, so we're going to have to, play in enemy territory, which is not exactly a bad thing for the Canadians. I feel like they've been pretty solid away from home ice this season. A lot of ways through the season, I feel like we've been pretty good, on the road there. So it's not exactly a bad thing, but at the same time, in the playoffs, Montreal gives a different atmosphere for sure. So it'll be definitely interesting to see what we can do, what we can accomplish in this series here. But, focusing on this game very quickly here, not a whole lot to say, not a whole lot to unpack. Nothing really exciting happened at all. We got a Brendan Gallagher goal. That's exciting. I do feel like, Brendan Gallagher, when he gets in that lineup, he definitely elevates his game. He's definitely had to push himself a little bit further, considering the fact that he's been a healthy scratch every once in a while this season. It's his 7th of the season in this one here, and I feel like, I personally feel like it might be a hot take, but I think I want to see Brendan Gallagher in the lineup on game one of the playoffs there. I feel like he just gives 100% when he's out there. He's not exactly doing everything skillfully wise. He's not exactly the best player on the ice there, but I feel like he gives everything for his team, and that's exactly the kind of guy you want in the lineup in the playoffs. Somebody who's going to lay everything on the line to try to find a way to win. That's the kind of guy you want in the playoffs there. So I feel like I'd like to see him in the lineup. It'll be interesting to see what the lineup looks like on Sunday. But either way, I think it'll be an interesting game there. But obviously, going back to this game, Brendan Gallagher gets his 7th of the season. Great goal, great passing play there. Gouli and Texier getting the other assist there. Gouli gets his 9th assist and Texier his 13th. So good work by those guys. Brendan Gallagher, it's good to see him perform well when he's out on the ice there. And again, I do think he should be in the lineup there, especially with the injuries and stuff that we've got going on. Most of that's going on the back end right now on defense, but I still would like to see him there just for the fact that he just elevates his game. He's going to give it everything he's got there. He's going to motivate the troops a little bit. And I feel like that's something that you're going to need, especially against a team like Tampa Bay, who is going to fight literally and figuratively for every inch of space there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. The other Canadians goal scored by Jake Evans. He gets his 12th of the season there, so good work from those guys. Jack-Eye and Veleno with the assist, their 3rd each on that one. So really just, that just spells it out right there. It's another one of those games where our bottom 6, gets to work and does what they need to do, but our top 6 pretty much invisible in this one. We didn't really have what we needed to have there. Some veteran guys were, resting in this game, obviously, so that makes a difference a little bit, but, especially with the fact that, Cole Caulfield had the chance to, score in this game and get a chance at tying for the Rocket. You would like to see a little bit more effort there from our top guys, but at the same time, it's just like, obviously there was like, the other thing that's frustrating me is that there is something to play for here. It's not like we're playing this game 82 just as a formality and there's nothing at stake. If we had won this game, we could have had home ice advantage. We could have been going home for game one of the playoffs here on Saturday. But instead, we just kind of throw this game away, let Philly just kind of, handle everything, do whatever they need to do, and they end up getting the better of us throughout pretty much the entire game here. Our top line doesn't show up at all. So it's just kind of frustrating when there actually is something at stake here, and we kind of just throw away that opportunity and just say, to hell with it. We're just going to be, playing in enemy territory for the majority of the first round there. So that's just like, I don't know. Like, you can't be too upset because obviously we're still in the playoffs, but, this is kind of a similar situation what we had against Columbus the other day, like a week or so ago. You don't want to see, efforts like this continue. If we're going to play like that in game one of the playoffs here, it's going to be a quick series. We're going to get swept. Tampa Bay is going to make quick and easy work of us there. So we need to be, much, much better than we were tonight if we want any chance of being successful in the playoffs here. Like the effort that we had tonight was just not acceptable. It's not going to work. We may as well just, wait until the draft if we're going to play like that. Like, it's not going to work. We need to do something needs to change. Somebody needs to say something or whatever. They just need to be, whatever it takes, they just need to be ready for game one of the playoffs here, because that effort is just not not going to cut it. It's not going to do it. And yeah, just a disappointing way to end the season there on game 82. Nothing really to write home about. Not even really any goals from any exciting players there. Obviously, Gallagher and Jake Evans. It's good to see them score. You love that, but you would like to see them score in a game that we win. But it's really unfortunate when those are the only guys who show up in terms of offense there, and we just kind of end up floundering everywhere else. Doesn't make for a great look there. So that's pretty much all I have on this game. That's all I have on the regular season as a whole. That's a wrap on the whole thing. I think obviously a lot of ups and downs throughout this entire regular season. We had some win streaks, some losing streaks in there, but ultimately looking at the regular season as a whole, I think we did a great job overall of meeting expectations, exceeding those expectations, and even when there was adversity, there were definitely times if we remember just a month ago, there were definitely times where it looked like the Canadians might actually fall out of the playoffs picture entirely, but the Canadians were able to kind of pull their pants up a little bit and fight for their spot in the playoffs there and win some big games at crucial moments to find a way to stay in the playoffs and stay in that third in the Atlantic spot as well, which is a big upgrade on last year. Doesn't really help us in terms of matchup. I'm not sure if I'd rather play last year's Capitals or this year's Lightning, but the Lightning, a solid team, and we're going to have our hands full. But in terms of the regular season, I think we did a great job of fighting for our spot. And when there was tons of adversity all the way through this Atlantic division, and the East as a whole was incredibly tough, and the Canadians proved that they're one of the teams that's making that division tough, as opposed to a team that's kind of fighting through that, as opposed to some other teams in the division. So again, I'm very impressed with this season overall, very happy with it. I'm thrilled to be able to kind of look back at all 82 games there, the 82 videos that I've created over the course of this season here, and look at what kind of things were going on, what we were thinking about, what kind of the biggest concerns were or whatever at the time, and look to now and thinking about the fact that we're gearing up to start game 1 of the playoffs, in a top 3 spot in the Atlantic there. So obviously still a lot of work cut out for us. We didn't play all of those 82 games just to flounder in the playoffs and kind of go to the golf course a couple weeks late. We still want to compete. We still want to beat the Lightning, and I do think we absolutely can beat the Lightning. We did beat them twice in like a week and a half span recently, so I think we're definitely capable of winning this series. Obviously bounces need to go our way and all that kind of stuff, but I think we are definitely capable of getting this series win. It's just a matter of which Montreal Canadiens team shows up. If it's the team from tonight, we're going to get swept, as I just said. But if it's a team that, the team that showed up, only a few days ago, the last time we played Tampa, and, did them physicality-wise, we scored big goals at big times against Vasilevsky. If we're going to show up like that, then we could definitely win this series. It's just a matter of, who shows up for Tampa as well. And, I think, from an outside perspective, this is going to be a very, very entertaining series, a very nerve-wracking series for us, obviously, as fans watching this one, but it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. So again, that is pretty much all I've got for this one. Nothing really to talk about in terms of this game. It's a very forgettable game. I think before the actual playoffs start, before game 1 starts, I'm going to create another video talking about the series as a whole, kind of breaking down the the projections or whatever, the stats between Tampa and Montreal this season, and kind of breaking down what my predictions are for not only this round for the Canadians, as well as some other rounds, and where I think the Canadians might end up should they win this first round series there. So take a look out for that there, my kind of projections, and a preview of the first round matchup between the Habs and the Lightning there. So it'll be very interesting to see. Again, I'm very, very excited to watch the Canadians in the playoffs. I think last year, a little bit of a tease of what the Canadians could do. A very young team still, very much so then, but even more so now. In some ways anyway. But I think, like this Canadiens team has a ton of potential, has a ton of, I think there's a lot of, similarities to other teams that have won the Cup for the Canadians recently, or in the past, few years, in 93, 86 or whatever. So I think this is definitely a team that could turn some heads a little bit and win some rounds and find a way to get back towards the Stanley Cup there. But obviously this is also a team that, as we saw tonight, can really, crack under really no pressure at all and not really do what they need to do. So it's just, as I mentioned before, it's just a matter of what Canadians team shows up on game one is going to make the difference here. But I'll save all of those thoughts for my future video on the preview of that series. So that is all I have for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for watching all 82 games this season. I have had a blast running through all of these games on this YouTube page. Even if nobody's watching, I know some people are watching. Not everybody, like not a ton of views or anything like that, but I've really had fun kind of, breaking down my thoughts on, all of the games and kind of, speaking out loud about everything that's going on this season for the Canadians. So thank you to anybody who is actually watching these videos. I've had a blast making these, and I plan to continue to do so and making some other content hockey related as we go into, the off season and beyond there. So anybody who is watching here, appreciate you doing so. That is pretty much all for me. That is all for me for the regular season as a whole. So a great regular season overall. Very happy with what the Canadians were able to accomplish. I'm very excited to talk to you all again after a big win. Game one of the playoffs here against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I will see you all after game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs against the Tampa Bay Lightning on Sunday.